The decision that came from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. So here we go. The appeal filed by Alex Attoh, Felix Abuska, Mohamed Zachary, Shaibu Tofik, Fad Ibrahim, Richard Akwa, Eric Esso, Amos Kofi Nkrumah, Stephen Owusu Banahene, Kwame Moses, Mpem Da Costa, Frank Akoto, Isaac Opokwajiman, Solomon Afriye, Mohamed Baliu, Emmanuel Owusu, Samed Mohammed, Paul Asare de Vries, Amos Adai, and Abdul Kadir Mohammed, as well as Issa Ali, against the decision issued on July 13, 2022 by the Ghana FA Appeals Committee with the reference number indicated is upheld. Now, the appeal filed by Mr. Richmond Lamte against the decision issued on July 13, 2022 by the Ghana FA Appeals Committee with reference number indicated is upheld. The Ghana Football Association Appeals Committee decision dated July 13 with reference number indicated is set aside only with respect to Mrs. Alex Attoh, Felix Abuska, Mohamed Zachary, Shaibu Tofik, Fad Ibrahim, Richard Akwa, Eric Attoh, Amos Kofi Nkrumah, Stephen Owusu Banahene, Kwame Moses and Mpem Da Costa, Frank Akoto, Isaac Opokwajiman, Solomon Afriye, Mohamed Baliu, and Emmanuel Owusu, Samed Mohammed, Paul Asare de Vries, Amos Adai, Abdul Kadir Mohammed, Issa Ali, and Richmond Lamte. Now, the sanctions imposed on these individuals are annulled. The costs of the present arbitration to be determined and served by a CAS court office in a separate letter shall be borne in entirety by the Ghana Football Association. Now, the Ghana Football Association is ordered to pay the players mentioned earlier a global amount of 6,300 Swiss francs to be distributed amongst them in equal parts, and that will be 300 Swiss francs each as a contribution towards their legal fees and other expenses incurred in connection with these arbitration positions. It further states that the Ghana Football Association is ordered to pay Mr. Richmond Lamte the amount of 3,000 Swiss francs in contribution towards his legal fees and other expenses incurred in connection with these arbitration proceedings. All other and further claims or prayers for relief are dismissed. So this is a decision which came from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Now, that also brings a very interesting twist to happenings within our football. But we'll be going into the conversation very, very shortly. But do remember that on Monday, we'll bring you the thought leadership, the media thought leadership event, which will be focusing on low attendance at our Ghana Premier League centres. Now, obviously, this is a matter that really started and sparked a lot of conversations, especially because of, the numbers of players named and the numbers of players who were said to have been involved in this particular scandal. Well, as the situation stands, it has been annulled by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Cost has also been awarded against the Ghana Football Association. And now the question is, how do all of these players move on from here? And what kinds of lessons are we picking from here as a football collective? What kinds of lessons are we going to pick from here? It is very, very important, and that's what we'll be focusing the conversation on this afternoon here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. Do remember that your messages are very, very welcome. And remember, it's 055-11-11997, 055-11-11997 here on the Joy Sports Link. So just before we get the conversation started here on the Joy Sports Link, let's just quickly take your thoughts to one very important factor as we get ourselves ready for the start of the Ghana Premier League season in September. That's exactly in 2 months. How prepared is the football family? How prepared are the fans to go and support their respective clubs? So sometime last season, our colleagues at Inshira Sports took it upon themselves to start looking into the real reasons or the scientific reasons why the fans are staying away. In starting off this conversation, a lot of focus was placed on getting specific numbers as well. Numbers being recorded in the stands, as well as figures being recorded on the balance sheet of clubs after every club played its game. And there was a lot of specific focus on the big stadia. There are those who have also argued that sometimes using the Accra Stadium and, the Barbara Stadium in Kumasi is a bit of a stretch for the clubs, especially those who do not have numbers as big as Accra Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko. But the question to ask yourself is, what was the situation with Hearts and Kotoko themselves? Were they able to record the 100% attendances that is expected of them, considering their pedigree in the Ghana Premier League and the level of achievements? No, that was not the case. And so we're starting off this afternoon with a conversation with the head of Insura Sports, Bismarck Osubempa, also known as Ayala. He started off this campaign and he made some very, very interesting findings. On Monday at the Thought Leadership event, Phil GPL Centers, the challenge, the solutions, presenting our findings. He will be presenting, or we as a collective team, we're presenting these findings to the Ghana FA. Well, all of this is in the bid to make sure that we get our fans back into the stands. They add extra bites to it, they add the color to the game, and they give it its true definition. The game without the fans is also something else. Ayala, thank you so much for your time here on the show.
Thanks for having me, Nat.
It's been a bit. I mean, you took this upon yourself and you started this campaign quite a while ago. Something definitely pushed you to get this done. I mean, but for me, from where I sit, it just looked like the continuous low numbers became a worry, because in previous seasons, what you'd see is 1 week there are many numbers in the stands, and then maybe another week it drops a little bit. But this one was consistent, isn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty consistent, and it has been in the last decade. We've been witnessing decline in the way the public consumes our football locally, and the bigger problem is that it affects everything football. Everything, the football players, their attitude on the pitch when the crowd is there and when the crowd is not there, how the administrators even evaluate their job in terms of the public attraction is a big problem. The spectacle for TV coverage, when the cameras are on the matches and there are no crowd there in the stands, it makes it a little bit distasteful to watch. Aside that, most importantly, is evidence of the apathy of the football fans with the Ghanaian football product, and that doesn't really repose any trust in any corporate institution to bring on board investments into Ghana football. So it's the lifeblood of everything that we do football. That is the public interest and the supporters. And once you witness that we are seeing a sharp decline year in, year out, as a football ecosystem person, you must be concerned. That
definitely very concerned. And there were times when you could record some very, very interesting numbers. Let's go back to some of them.
I remember last season, Kinfesa in Swatraman gave us, I think, the lowest we've witnessed. And the number was around 88. Not even up to 90 people at the stadium, or 90 people getting on the e-ticketing and purchasing ticket to watch games. I remember again, there was a certain Kotoko game. I've forgotten the opponent. It was a weekday. That was also a holiday. Kotoko couldn't record up to 300 people at the Barbara Sports Stadium. In fact, if you watch our analysis, and we are in the process of calculating on the average the just ended season attendance for Kotoko. But what I remember is last 2 seasons, Kotoko recorded only 11% of the stadium capacity of Barbara in total, as in you add up the total attendance, you divide it by the number of games watched. So on the average, Kotoko could do only 11% of attendance at the Barbara Sports Stadium. And for everyone who is listening to us, it's imperative that, yes, we concentrate on Kotoko and Haas, because whenever you enter any country, their leading sports have their leading indicators. They are big clubs that give you how well the sports is doing in that country. And for Ghana, it has always been Kotoko and House of Folk. And the reason why they are the two most glamorous sides is because of the size of their backing in terms of the supporters. And if it is that these two clubs are declining to attract their supporters and the public interest to their games, it's very, very disheartening. And, it's a topic we need to really, really have a look at.
Now, at the Barbara Stadium, we know that when it comes to support, the fans who come there are a standard nationwide. The reason why the then Nyantechi-led Ghana FA decided to, play most Black Stars games there because support in Kumasi is different. It's on a different scale. So obviously, if support goes down in Kumasi, then it means it can go down anywhere.
Yeah, sure. Kumasi has become the cathedral of Ghana football in terms of the turnout to games, the passion around the game in Kumasi is something else. And we in the Ashanti region have always boasted of that kind of attitude and passion towards the game. Recently, even the Black Stars games have witnessed full attendance at the Baba Sports Stadium. Ghana against Nigeria recently under Chris Shooting, Ghana against I think Angola or Madagascar. The stadium was filled to the filters. Now, the issue is if you speak to football fans, they tell you there are a lot of contributing factors that are not making them consume the Kotoko, King Faisal, and the local games as they consume the national teams. Yes, of course, you don't get to watch the national teams as in short moments as you watch your club's Kotoko plays at the Baba Sports Stadium virtually every 2 weeks. By Ghana, the Ghana national team will come there probably once in every 4 months, once in every 5 months, and all that. So yes, the attraction to the Blasters because you don't normally see them is there. But beyond that, we used to witness progressive numbers for Kotoko and King Faisal and other local games at the Baba Sports Stadium. So it means that not even in comparing to the Blasters alone, the reduction in the numbers on those local games alone is indication that there is something wrong. You speak to them, they talk about the quality of players, the quality of the league in total, the administration of Ghana football when it comes to our local football, the commentaries the media run about the products. It's not encouraging for anybody to be a consumer to say I want to go and consume it. The way we don't project the players themselves, player exodus, the introduction of e-ticketing, and other economic factors in the nation. Economically, people are saying, look, things are up, and to have set aside money to go and watch football is also another huge thing that really contribute to this discussion, and a host of others that probably on Monday evening at the Labadi Beach Hotel we will be able to explain further and give a proper insight on what those problems are and how we can tackle it as stakeholders. So these are some of the factors that we have engaged in our research, and I think on Monday it will be worth everyone's time to be there and consume the content of what our research has given us, so that all of us can put our heads together and find lasting solutions to the decline of supporters and public interest towards our football.
Well, we are looking forward to finding the solutions, definitely. That's the whole essence of having a project as big as this. Phil, GPL stands, an Insura Sports initiative, which is powered by Joy Sports. And the Sport Leadership event is on Monday at 6 p.m. at the Labadi Beach Hotel. It will also be live here on Joy 99.7 FM and on the Joy News channel. Now, Bismarck, the other bit is that of the media. We have on many occasions been accused of being a part of this very big problem. The negative commentary. You compare the media here to the media in Europe. Let's zero in on the English Premier League, for instance, where you have a lot of the positive things going, where players are being hyped. Of course, there's negative reportage, but players are being hyped. A lot is being done regarding talking about the game, talking about the quality in the league, and all of that. And those who accuse us say we are not paying attention to it, and we're further sinking it.
It's true. It's true, but it's a little bit complicated and quite a deep source topic. You know, the basis of those claims are very, very true. And for me, as a person within the media, I always talk about the kind of orientation that we have on the job. If you say you are going to have it to be a sports journalist as a job, then there must be some careful orientation as to how you go around it. To be honest with you, that probably we work with a multimedia team, so we are so proud to say that we know the ethics of our jobs. We know when and how to communicate issues, even though they are negative and all that. But you compare us to the general media job on content concerning Ghana sports. And to be honest with you, it is very, very legitimate for everyone to raise issues about the way we go about our jobs. And we shouldn't forget that we shape opinions, we shape tastes, we shape whatever it is between the product itself, as in football, and the final consumer in terms of the supporters. And when it is that we are always bent on firing on the negatives and not have any conscious effort to try as much as possible to highlight the positives, it affects the taste of a typical Ghanaian football lover. It affects the appreciation of a typical Ghanaian football lover of the game. And to be honest with you, once that is affected, it affects investment into it too. So yes, we are blamable. We understand it. It's somehow our fault that we are so inclined to talk about the negatives and point it. I don't know. Probably it's about also the issue of being too populist. You know, not sometimes with the job that you do, you are supposed to be so celebrated and what you are celebrated as of now. Probably because you don't not a firebrand. He doesn't probably go over the moon to hit on problems and all that. So sometimes we have become too populist as media men. We want to be celebrated outside by the fans who says, "Oh, this is a firebrand. This is someone who punches the leaders and all that." Probably in that vein, we too much concentrate on the negative side than the positive side. Again, you see, if you mention UK, BT Sports, Sky Sports, BBC, and the rest, that I think that there is a careful orientation to project the positives because the content itself is expensive to have. So, for instance, you don't expect Sky to pay over £5 billion to have rights over the EPL that they have the responsibility to sell it onwards, to make profit out of it with sponsors, and they themselves turn around and malign the product. It doesn't make sense. So the reason why before you appear on any Sky show to talk about the EPL, they remind you that we've invested £5 billion in this product, and it is our job to make sure the content that we put there also gets sponsors that will take the £5 billion money that we've invested and give us even profits for the broadcast right that we bought. So you are oriented to make sure there are positive vibes around the product. Now in Ghana, the last time the Ghana Premier League and the Football Association tried to sell the media rights of the league in terms of the radio rights and all that, look at how we stood up to it. We were so against it. It's so cheap as a product to talk and generate content about the Ghana football product. And once it is cheap, nobody sees it as a responsibility to protect the brand and the value of it, to make sure that we highlight the positives and probably we gain some value off it, and probably think about even making content out of the rights that we've built. So once these things are not so aligned within us as a fiber of our journalism work that we do, it's always going to be a huge topic to discuss this. But yes, we are blamable, and the system has set us up for us to go the way that we are going. and there must be something genuinely done about it.
Something must be done about it, and of course, Monday's event is, a big step in the right direction, isn't it? Well, Bismarck, thank you so much for the time, and we sure are going to do some justice to that topic on Monday. We're looking forward to the findings as well.
Sure, Nat, and this will be our final invitation, please. Everyone listening to us should find time in any way to consume the content. It's a positive content. It's a content geared at giving us solutions and not the normal content of telling you the problems. It's a content that will give you insight about what really the problems are and not just mentioning them off head. This is a research-based content. So it comes with a little bit of legitimacy that we've witnessed over the years. And as stakeholders, we, the listeners, corporate sponsors, department of the FA, GARCA, and everyone who are stakeholders, we should all rally around this content. And once we have probably the first time that we are having a research-based content into a problem in Ghana football, the solutions then will become very, very lasting. It will become proven as a solution. And we all can grow and make good use of our time on Monday.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Bismarck Osubempa, also known as Ayala, is the head of Inter Sports. And he started off this campaign. And we're wrapping everything up on Monday with a thought leadership session, I beg your pardon, at the Labadi Beach Hotel. My guest here in the studio this afternoon is the head of sport at Angel Media and is also the GJA Sports Journalist of the Year 2019. His nickname is Obama. I'm sure by now he's incorporated it into his passport as well. Sadiq Adams is my guest this afternoon as we take a look at the issues around this, this very interesting topic of the Court of Arbitration for Sport overturning a decision by one of the judicial bodies of the Ghana FA to heavily sanction some 21 players. They are free to go. They are free to go.
Joy 99.7 FM.
To bring back the love to the game. Now, some 21 players were found within this whole mix, and they were taken through the processes, under the judicial bodies of the Ghana FA. And then punitive measures were meted out. Then it went to CAS. Then today, they are free to go. What was your immediate reaction when,
Well, I think that I was leaning towards how this ruling was going to come out at the point when the order for stay of execution was granted. The players requested for a stay of execution or the GFA suspension to be suspended as well, or banned to be suspended for some period because they actually wanted to compete in the league whilst the process was on. So when that was granted...
And they had to make a living as well.
Yes, of course. When that was granted, I thought that the Court of Arbitration for Sports had found something. Perhaps the investigations were not compelling enough, or the establishment of guilt or wrongdoing in the evidence adduced by the FA was not as strong and concrete enough. Because if a player is involved in match fixing, and it wasn't only by the GFA disciplinary committee, the appeals committee upheld the decision of the DC, meaning that to the FA and the judicial bodies, the establishment of guilt or wrongdoing was very compelling and conclusive enough. But to CAS, to grant that the players can still go ahead and compete in the league, I think that was a point where I said, no, this thing will be, it may turn, or the decision may be reversed. So when I saw the ruling on was it on Friday, I had to take my time to read the entire 45-page document and come to the same conclusion. That, of course, we thought that this was what has happened. CAS actually established that the match was fixed or manipulated. I'm sure that a lot of people have been misconstruing the judgment to the fact that the match was not fixed. They established and admitted that the match was fixed, but then the players who were named, that's the reasoning of CAS. The players who were named in the match fixing or manipulation as against the sanctions or the Article 34.5 of the Ghana Football Association related to match fixing, did not establish or conclude enough. The evidence was not conclusive enough or concrete enough to conclude that they were individually and specifically involved. So the match was manipulated. It was fixed. But per Article 34.5 of the GFA, if a player manipulates a game or is involved or encourages, so CAS is asking that, well, the match was fixed, but how do you conclude that the players individually mentioned and sanctioned were in their separate ways or specifically involved in the match fixing? By what? By the evidence that they had said this and that, hearsay and reports. So that's the conclusion reached, or the reasoning behind why they have been acquitted. And also, I think there were other areas where the Ghana Football Association, there were even procedural errors and the breach of natural justice, as in granting them the opportunity to be heard and file a defense. And when they were even invited to sit and face the disciplinary committee of the GFA, it was not stated clearly to them that whatever they say there will be used against them. I think it was a normal process. That is why they requested for a video evidence of the hearing of the DC, which was not produced. So the objection of the GFA to produce a video evidence of what the DC hearing and even the appeals committee hearing, their inability to produce that was established as a point that the GFA did not even have a video evidence of what had transpired. So the records of proceedings with respect to video evidence was not adduced at CAS when it was the GFA were requested to produce it by the appellant. So there were so many. I think that we've lost a very fine opportunity to use this as a deterrence. We've lost a very nice opportunity to stamp out match fixing. This was, to me, the GFA meant well. This is the clearest opportunity of match fixing you will ever find anywhere. This is clearer than the Great Mariners, Nania FC, Mighty Jets, or Nokor United. This is the clearest opportunity of match fixing. But what has gone wrong in this instance is that the players who were charged, some of them were even sanctioned contrary to the charges on their sheets. So I don't know how hurriedly they wanted to do it, but actually they meant well. An opportunity lost. And I don't know when we may be able to get to this point again where people will see that there is a clear evidence of match fixing and the people involved have been punished, and CAS has upheld the decision of the GFA.
Obama, you mentioned the element of the loss of an opportunity to just make this right and make this serve as a deterrent. So then it's still fresh in the minds of people that, look, there's something wrong with our game, and there are many incidents of match fixing. Now, what bothers me then will be the suspicion on the part of the fans.
Yeah.
The suspicion when a game is going beyond maybe like 4 goals apiece or something like that. So every fan, and that's why we're having our thought leadership session on Monday,
right?
Because we want to understand, are these some of the factors, and a fan wants to go and enjoy a competitive game, and you see what 4 goals, a 5-4 scoreline, and then you start thinking, because there was Inter Allies versus AshGold.
Well, clearly the suspicion is always going to be there, because the elements and features and characteristics of match fixing is so awash in the league. It was even stated in the GFA, punishment of the players. The GFA stated that because of the elements of match fixing that has been creeping in into the league, if it doesn't already exist, that's why they are punishing the players to that level. But the suspicion has got to be backed with compelling evidence. This is where I say we have lost an opportunity. Mere suspicion and allegations and hearsays and reported speeches, this is an issue of law against an issue of assumption or suspicion. What the Court of Arbitration for Sports stated was clear. They based on the previous decisions of the FA. They admitted the evidence of the FA as against the evidence of the words of the appellants. But the point was that we agree that the match was manipulated based on the evidence you have. And they even cited my tweets in the Court of Arbitration for Sports when I was reading it, and I saw that they had picked a tweet of the goals scored by Hashmin Musa into that evidence. It was a tweet. I only thought that the match was fixed based on the goals scored as a fan or as a journalist. But what evidence did I have to come to that conclusion?
Very well.
That evidence will be based on what the GFA judicial team and investigatory team that they constituted will bring, and it wasn't compelling enough. So the suspicion will be there. That's why I say we have lost an opportunity. Now people will go to the stadium thinking that, okay, we can even, the match has been played ahead of the main game. So the scoreline has been predetermined going into the game. We say we have to score the away team by 4-2. People have gone on to stake bets on that. At the end of the day, suspicious goals have been scored. The scoreline has come to what was already in the known. It is 4-2. We have won the bets. But then the credibility and integrity of the game will come into disrepute. People do not trust the game again. It is for the FA, who are owners of the product, to form or constitute a body that is credible enough to investigate and get compelling evidence and come to conclusion. I think they did so in the issue of the chairman of the club and his son, and the voluntary worker of Inter Allies, who were all punished. I'm talking about Kweku Frimpong and the son. They had evidence of conversations, telephone conversation. They had wired, collected evidence of conversation, money transfers. In all that, if you submit this at CAS, it will be very difficult to refute by the defendants or the Kweku Frimpong or whoever decides to take the case up to CAS. But for the players, Rich Molamte said, have you heard from this? Or said, have you heard that your boss has communicated to you that the scoreline will be this? Hashmi Musa said he was insulted on the field. This boy said, this guy said. So it is not compelling enough.
Very, very murky as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you joined us, well, let's get back into this matter. 055-11-11997. 055-11-11997. So, what is important at this point is that something came up.
Yeah.
There was a problem, and that problem may probably still exist.
It does. Not may. It does. Even after this Inter Allies and Ashanti Gold story, we've had so many. We have cause to establish that there are much of conveniences that have been played across the various divisions of Ghana FA. Reports of that. Even after that, you remember the General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, said they had received evidence of match fixing in other areas, and phones of some footballers and referees have been taken. So it exists in the system, even in England, where they have sophisticated gadgets and monitoring systems. These things can never be uprooted or eradicated completely, but you just have to limit. You just have to have the structures in place to be able to limit and monitor them very well, evaluate and see where there are loopholes. We don't even have these kind of structures and monitoring systems and gadgets or the sophistication to be able to get to that level. So they exist in Division 2, in Division 1. Let's this team score 2 goals. Even in the Premier League, we've seen very questionable results in the league. Very, very questionable, especially at the tail end of the league. Every season it happens. This team will go and win. There was a team, in the ruling of CAS, they said that that was the ruling of the DC. Ahead of the game between Inter Allies and AshGold, the last 6 or 7 games of the two clubs, they had not scored more than 2 goals in any of the league game they had competed in. So the result of that particular game, that was a 7-0 or even the 5-2 that they had already predetermined to go into the game, could not be enough mitigation grounds that, okay, we scored 5-2 and it was a result that was credible, because you had not even scored 1 or 2 goals. There was a club in the Ghana Premier League that had not won a game in 14 of their previous away games in the league. They had not won. They had not even drawn. They had lost all their 14 away games. But the penultimate game of the season, they went away on very, very questionable grounds, won by 1-0 and got their stay in the league. And anywhere in the world they would have investigated or they would have set their schemes in place. We still have them. That is the Premier League. Go to the Division 1, go to Division 2, various areas. It exists. But if this Inter Allies and AshGold issue has not been able to get to the conclusion that we all wanted, I commended the FA for the action and decision, but CAS says no, because they have also gotten enough grounds to say that you did not get enough evidence that was conclusive enough to say that the players were individually. But that is not to say that the other players have not been punished. The players who were not mentioned, 5 or 6 of them are still punished by the GFA, because to them the evidence was somehow conclusive and concrete enough to say the players were individually involved in the manipulation and they encouraged or solicited in the act of match fixing. But it will be very difficult. I will not sit here. There wouldn't be any justification to say that the FA taking this decision or CAS taking this decision will further increase or reduce the elements of match fixing. It exists. We will not be able to uproot it, eradicate it completely and exhaustively. But the point is that we have to be ahead of time. The FA needs to be proactive in dealing with this, because match fixing is one of the main drawbacks of why people do not go to the stadium. There are other factors, but match fixing and the credibility of results, the integrity of the game lies in the unpredictability of the results. If people can go to the stadium and see that Blackburn or Queen's Park Rangers, who are facing relegation, travel to Manchester City and can hold them to the last minute at a point where Manchester City have all the machinery, they have all the technical staff and best of players to win a game, they are pulled back or they are beaten by a club that is fighting relegation. That is where the integrity of the game lies. A team that is fighting relegation can beat a team, and you can watch the game and see that they merited the result. There was no questionable instances where you could say that this player passed the ball back and he scored a very questionable or controversial own goal. The results are credible. That's why people go to the stadium thinking that their club is going to fight and beat another opponent, regardless of the materials they have. You come to Ghana and the results in some of the games are very, very shady. And then people will not come back to the stadium because they know. And I have not evidence enough, but you can assume and deduce from matches I have watched. You travel to a match center, the morning you go to a chop bar, and people are discussing the results there. it will be 4-2. Have you staked? Have you done this? Oh, we discussed it. We finished the game yesterday. We will score them by 4-2. If we don't win bet today, at the end of the game, first half, the home team has scored 3. Second half, the away team scores 2. Last minute, the home team adds 1. It's 4-2. So you have traveled to come, and the supporters know the result of the game before the game is played. And this has been consistent. And the FA knows people who are involved in this. But it's difficult if you are not sophisticated enough to track and have conversations, have compelling evidence to prosecute these people. So I won't say the GFA is not fighting enough. They have done their bit. They have punished people, especially the club chairman and the son. But not to say that fighting match fixing is easier would be like saying that it will be easier to fight corruption in Ghana. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Some very disturbing statistics indeed. There's no doubt about that. Well, you've hit quite a number of points, and I'm asking myself, in terms of the psychology, where would these players be standing? Luckily for them, they got their stay of execution.
Yeah.
And because of that, they were able to play, and they are still playing.
Yeah.
Now, this element, are we able to push it out of the system? I mean, you've said that it is impossible to move it out, because you look at other jurisdictions. You look at Italy, for instance, where at a certain point, some years ago, I think it was between 2005 and 2006, where they were dropped to the Serie B.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And especially, you realize that it's because we are coming from the developmental point of view. We're still developing our league.
Right.
And so we become prey to some of these
very
attempts.
vulnerable. Very vulnerable, especially where players are not paid. Even in Italy and England, where players who are paid as high as $80,000 or euros a month, so still have betting applications on their phone, betting on games. Sometimes it's fun, and people have become addicted in those jurisdictions. So you can say the instances are isolated. Very few players who are addicted. But when you come to the case of Ghana, where players going into that game between Inter Allies and AshGold, some of the players had not been paid for 6 months. The players of AshGold, 6 clear months, they had not been paid, and they were not winning games to even receive winning bonuses. So they will heavily rely on what they can get out of the games they participate. And the vulnerability lies there because there are betting syndicates who will prey on these guys because, one, you are not paid, and you are the main or principal actor in the game that can determine the results, which will bring in the revenue for me, the match fixer. So if players who are paid 20,000 euros a week are engaged in match fixing and are using sophisticated ways to maneuver their way through, how do you come to Ghana and say, for instance, Fad Ibrahim, who was charged by the FA and banned, who has had his ban, acquitted, who has been acquitted, had a betting gadget on his phone. The FA said he had done multiple bets on various leagues across the world. But CAS says, where is the evidence? This is just an assumption that the fact that he has a betting application on his phone doesn't mean that he's been betting. Where is the evidence of a printable evidence of seeing where he has been betting or taking bets and how much he's won? But the player had it on his phone. Not the fact that you have, an application on your phone.
I deleted a few a couple of days ago because I wasn't using them.
Of course. But so
it just goes to justify that, look, there's a possibility someone may have the app but may not be using it.
But who downloaded them in the first place? So it is only legal that you have evidence to suggest that I have been using. But if I take your phone right now and I see that you have live score, I presume, or the presumption is that you check score lines of matches there. You have various applications. If you have WhatsApp, the presumption is that you use it to chat. It is your phone, unless you say the phone is not for you. But Fad admitted that the phone is for him. The FA did not go further to establish whether he's been using the application to bet. But it's on his phone. And a lot of the players in the Ghana Premier League that I know do bet on the league. I know a club chairman who went on the field to slap his goalkeeper because the goalkeeper had allowed in a very cheap and suspicious goal. He went to the pitch to slap the goalkeeper, got him substituted. At the end of the match, there were supporters in the stadium who said the goalkeeper had come to bet on the game that it would be 1-1. And his team had scored 1. So he was only allowing the other goal so that he chops his bet. It happens. These are players who are not paid. I may be saying all these things because you are closer to the fans, you know it. But to get concrete evidence is the difficulty here. So if there are elements of these things in the league, and you talk about the psychology of the players, I have been speaking regularly with some of the players, especially Frank Akoto, Paul de Vries Asare, one of the most talented players I've ever watched. I mean, he played for Wow Stars under Kwesi Ntechi, and he was in the under-17 team. This guy has had his football career completely shattered because of this thing. There were moves for other players in the league who have not been able to move. There are players who got offers to travel to Europe, but the GFA refused to issue ITCs for them, and the psychological block and load on them it's been weighing them down. It's been almost 1.5 or 2 years, 2 seasons. They were allowed to play. That's enough for Richmond Lamptey and the others. But you know, the credibility of the players were always questioned. There is a player, Setosei, who has been hugely rumored to be attracting interest from clubs like Kotoko, Hearts of Oak for a very long time. You know, he trained at the Barcelona Academy or so before he came to Ghana. Very talented guy. And he was deeply involved in this thing. How will fans of your club allow the management to go and sign such a player? And even if he plays justifiably well in the game and makes a mistake that is genuine, people are going to connect that to the fact that he's previously been engaged in match fixing. And the suspicion is always going to be dangerous for the player. So the psychological aspects, I don't know if the Ghana Football Association will, as part of measures to pay the players as instructed by CAS, pay some of them their fines that were, invoked on them and others, help them get psychological help to also be treated in that manner, to get psychological support for them, to also get, because a lot of them are even below the ages of 24, 25. They still have years ahead of them. But how will the players be able to win off the psychological load on them? That's anyone who sees them will say this guy was involved in the AshGold, because in the minds of majority of Ghanaian football fans, and as established by CAS, that match was played under suspicious circumstances. The game was manipulated, but the players who were involved were not individually or specifically established with evidence enough to suggest they manipulated the game. So people are going to have this suspicion, and people are going to have this impression about the players. But the psychological issue for me is that how will they be able to compete in clubs that signs them? Are clubs even going to prefer them ahead of equal players in the same category? If you have the chance to sign a centre back, will you go in for a player who was involved in this game, or a player with the same talent and opportunity elsewhere? All this will come to play. And I feel for the guys, because they've been acquitted, but that's the first step in getting them back onto the field.
Well, that is the first step in getting back onto the field. Now, you can imagine being on the pitch, having fans in the stands, cheering you on and expecting 100% of a performance from you, but you have a court case hovering over your head. If you say this is the first step, everybody would want to understand what the remaining steps will be so they could get their names cleared completely.
Well, I previously stated the first step here, they've been acquitted. The GFA has said they are not going to pursue the issue further. That's good for them. Secondly, they need psychological support. I don't know what we first also must commend the Professional Footballers Association of Ghana, PFAG, because this did not exist in the past. And the likes of Tony Baffo, Yusuf Chipsa, whose name appeared on the rates, and the others who have taken this matter up to get the players cleared and to have their careers back. But they have to go further in finding psychological support. in finding opportunities for the players. I'm not sure that they can find clubs for them, but they can find other opportunities, especially for the players who have retired on their own, because they don't think that they will have the vivacity to play on the field again, because their interest has been taken off or out of them as a result of this matter. Some of them were completely not aware of what was going on. Some of them were completely unaware of this match of convenience, because the chairman of the club may have told one or two players, but there were some of the players that I spoke to who have sworn that they did not know anything about the match of convenience, and so they were shocked about the pre-match discussions and conversations around the game. How are they going to get back? So it will rest with the PFAG. The first and the most important step is what they've taken to clear the player's name and to get them back on the field. The second step will be getting them psychological support to know that, well, these things happen. It's happened to so many players in the world, and get examples of players who have suffered this and come back, especially for Juventus and top players in the team who were banned and, rose through those lower leagues to come back to win the Scudetto, and then also find opportunities for them. Those who have retired, who can be useful in other areas, and those who are still playing and will want to join other clubs. I'm sure we should not allow, like they say, it is better to set free 15 prisoners than to incarcerate one innocent person. If those guys who were involved in the match fixing will be punished, alongside players who were unaware, I think that it's better to set all of them free, so that we don't put somebody who is completely innocent in jail, or just get his football career truncated by mere fact of allegations and assumptions. So the PFAG will know these steps. I know they are well informed and educated in this field enough, like Chipsai and Tony Baffo, Augustine Ahimfo, and the others, and their lawyers will know how to get the players the process through which they can adequately come back to the field and compete. And those who have retired will have other avenues to get themselves useful.
And the PFAG have done a good job so far. I remember the introductory year when the likes of Tony Baffo were championing the cause, getting this association on its feet. And now you're realizing the worth of having an arm, or a branch of the Fifth Pro, World Welfare Wing in your country.
Yeah.
The other day I was at the office at the
stadium,
PFAG, and I chanced upon some documents of a player who had just glanced through a contract and had just signed. He didn't even look at the
contents,
details, and that's what clubs are doing nowadays. They don't even allow. I'm told that sometimes they don't even allow the players to take the document away. Mm-hmm. Read right here, sign right here.
You leave it. This has been going on, and I've always told Tony Baffo he may not understand the magnitude and the value that he's brought to the players, and the kind of escape he's found for them, especially for those who do not have anybody behind them to fight their causes. Beyond this CAS decision, they've done so much for players in the league. And like you mentioned, there are players who have gone to the status committee and have their decisions sometimes very erratic and decisions full of defects. To be able to cure them, the PFAG have established a body to relate to the players. They've been going around, and the current Mediama CEO, Tetezuta, having relationship with the players and going to the clubs and educating them on what to do and what not to do. Sometimes not even the players, but the clubs. And they have been helping in getting their salaries. Players who have not been paid now have an avenue, because in the past, if a player is not paid, you can only report to the GFA. And the GFA executive and members are the members who own the clubs, and turkeys will never vote for Christmas. So if you report to them, it will take forever for them to respond. But now there is a Ghana Football Association and there is a PFAG, where players who are aware of how they can go through the procedure and get their matters resolved and get their pound of flesh. And they've been going there, and issues have been resolved. The biggest one here is what they have done for the players involved in this. That's why I'm saying that we need to get more of such for referees, for players, for coaches, one of the weakest associations now is the Ghana Coaches Association, because coaches are not even paid, and their opinions are not sought in a whole lot of matters. So they need to get, if the body is powerful or stronger enough, it puts the association on their feet. The GFA will be having second thoughts on issues that relates to the interest and the cause of players now, because they know that any act of defect or error in treating a player, whether by a club administrator or the GFA, will have the PFAG backing the player or players in question, and that's good enough for the system. So the structures are being built gradually, started with the PFAG, and what they've done in this issue, I do not support the act of match fixing and match manipulation. But when the evidence is not compelling enough, the players need to be fought for, and that's exactly what the PFAG have done. So going forward, we will like them to keep the momentum, and one of the difficult things for them is funding. I don't know how they get their funding, but because of their relationship with the mother body, that's FIFPro, this matter was even led by the FIFPro lawyer, legal advisor Roy Vimer, who's taking this up to the CAS. And if you read his argument, if you read the argument of the first appellant lawyer and how he went about this matter, it means that he's very well versed and experienced in these issues. And this is how the Inter Allies versus, not the Inter Allies, Great Mariners and Nania FC 31-0 against Okoye United match. The GFA judicial bodies led by the DC punished the teams 1 year suspension. We were all happy. But of course, there were players who were punished who may not have been engaged or may not have individually been involved in the acts of manipulation, but they didn't know how to go about it. And so 10 years, or that was in 2007. So let's say 16 years after that, we still have an opportunity for the PFAG to help in resolving some of these matters and bringing justifiable conclusion to all these matters.
If you're just joining us, we're here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's now go straight into our text messages, okay? It's 055-1111-997. Good afternoon. If CAS said they want the GFA to back what they have been saying with concrete evidence is true, then where I disagree with CAS is how can some of these players be exempted from this match fixing when they played the match and played in controversially to suit the scoreline that they wanted? CAS should adjudicate this case again and come back, because this is a dubious ruling. This is from Ayuba Haliu in Pram Pram. Thank you very much, Ayuba Haliu. Ayuba is just simply saying that, you're saying that the game was manipulated.
Yeah.
The players played in it.
Yeah.
And they have to...
yeah. I think that you have to first refer to the GFA regulation, the Ghana Premier League regulations.
You have it here.
Yes.
Kindly go through it.
Yes. So that is 34.5. Any GFA or club official or club or player or participant of a match who instigates, commands, counsels, solicits or procures or in any manner purposely aids, facilitates, encourages or promotes the playing of a fixed match or a match of convenience involving a club or involving other clubs, the result of which may in one way or the other affect his club, commits a grievous offense, and the offender shall be referred to the disciplinary committee of the GFA for appropriate sanctions. 1. So this states that the player may have to be involved in doing any of such acts. What CAS has established is that the match was manipulated, and we have established that. What CAS is saying is that the players that played the match in some instances may not even be aware. The GFA did not, the article does not say players alone. It says club officials. So in this instance, Kwaku Frimpong may have spoken to, making a reference or an example, may have spoken to only the players of Inter Allies and one player of Ashanti Gold, maybe the goalkeeper, purposely for a process of match of convenience to be established. Then the other 10 players on the field may be completely unaware. So the fact that they played in a match of convenience does not establish the fact that they were specifically involved. you get a point. We are two here. Nat, you are number 9. I am number 10. The manager of the team has spoken to you that if you get a chance, don't shoot and score because we want to win. But he knows that I may not agree to his point. So he says only Nat should be aware of what is going to happen. But we are 11 players on the field. The match has been played. You got 2 clear chances. Then you turned from the goalpost to shoot back. That point or suggests that there was a match of convenience. Fine. But I may be on the field. I may be unaware. I may be completely shocked or astounded by what you have done. But the fact that I am in the game and I came to you to talk to you and nobody has recordings of what I said to you, like in the Richmond Lamptey case, they said he sent a paper to a team official of Inter Allies, and some of the players said hearsay that he told them to go and stick the match whilst he was on the field. What CAS is trying to establish is that the GFA should have provided evidence that the sheet of paper was given. They don't have a video proof of that. The sheet of paper had a content that he's written that somebody should go and stick the results, which happened. They don't have. They don't have the evidence that Richmond Lamptey has refuted this. So the burden of proof, even according to the GFA's own regulations, is on the person who is charging. The burden of proof is on the GFA, who has established this and is alleging that there's a match of convenience. Well. So they have to prove. They were not able to prove. They had to supply evidence in terms of video footage of the hearing. They were not able to produce that. So the assumption is that they don't have a video hearing. There were players in the sanctions sheets who were not at the hearing. They were invited, but one way or the other, they were not able to come for the hearing. But the GFA said the fact that they did not come aggravated. And in the GFA's own regulations, not attending a hearing does not constitute aggravation. You understand? So there were sanctions that did not correspond to the GFA's own hearing. So the match was manipulated. People may not understand, like your texter has suggested, but it is simple. The fact that I have played in a match of convenience established does not mean that I specifically contributed or encouraged.
Especially when it's not been established.
It's not been established with evidence compelling enough to bring the person in the charge or the appellants in this case.
This one is from Ajiman Joseph. He's in Community 9. Now, good afternoon, Nat. This is a very important conversation for me. I also think that management is also part of the problem. It's part of the mismanagement of, the clubs, and it is also part of the problem. Okay, so once again, it's from Joseph Ajiman. Okay, now, Joseph Ajiman is trying to lay a bit of blame here that, this problem is coming from,
the management of the clubs. I'm sure they are all involved, but we, like I said, immediately I read the verdict of CAS. I said we've lost an opportunity. Not completely lost. The GFA, I am fully in support of any action to bring the elements of match fixing to the barest minimum. But CAS has come in with this. The actions against Kwaku Frimpong, the action against his son, the action against the Inter Allies team official, in quotes, and all the people who have been punished and the clubs in this instance, I am fully in support until it's been proven otherwise, because the issues of Kwaku Frimpong, the chairman of Ashanti Gold, are to me very concrete enough. If you have video, just in the Calciopoli in Italy, they had conversations that had been tapped. And if people are communicating on fixing a match and you are able to get that money that's been transferred, dates that the monies were transferred, and connecting them to the dots of when the matches were played, you can arrive at a reasonable conclusion that this is why they communicated, this is what they said, and the money has been transferred. So for them, it will be very difficult for them to, you will reach an irreversible conclusion that they were involved in match fixing. But the players is where the GFA, perhaps where they were under pressure, and I blame all of us, because journalists were putting so much fire on their heads. We want to see the decision. We want to see the decision. So the pressure on them, and even for the president.
And this was also coming, like we mentioned earlier, this was also coming during a period when the FA was on a very sharp curve in wanting to put things right and, wanting to make people love the game again.
But let's also state that the FA have not lost completely in this matter. They have people that they have punished. CAS has said that they were players, so there were 22 players, and 17 of them are the ones who initiated this appeal process. The 17 were not even mentioned in the elements of match fixing. The GFA consistently mentioned 5 players. So the 17 others were only brought in because they competed. You get the cracks.
Yeah.
So there were 22 players who were in this match that the GFA sanctioned them. 17 of them brought an action. 5 players are exempted because to them the GFA has specifically mentioned them with evidence, perhaps enough. But these 17 were not even mentioned in relation to match fixing, except for Richmond Lamptey and 5 others who have also proven beyond reasonable doubt with their lawyers that they were not involved. So there are players who have been punished, and those players are not going to get their bans suspended or overturned. They are not acquitted. But these 17 players who brought the matter were not mentioned in the GFA in relation to match fixing, as according to CAS. So how then, not even according to CAS alone, as according to the argument by the lawyer for the appellant. So it's enough to come to the conclusion that the FA have tried to fight match fixing. They have banned the clubs, they have banned some players. Some players have been able to get themselves acquitted.
All right, now there's this message coming from Ni4G. Interesting name, Ni4G. He says, great to have the sports Obama himself. I feel okay. Now, I feel a good system by the various teams can push up the numbers. Now, my problem of returning home from the stadium after a match is what puts me off, especially when it turns out to be a negative result. So, that match was fixed, period. I saw the video. CAS ruling is funny. Okay, now he's addressing 2 issues here. He's talking about, our thought leadership event on Monday. Now he talks about a bus system that can be introduced so that fans can get to their respective, places of abode when they go for games. But he says that, it's a difficult thing. And it's a difficult thing for anybody if you're on the losing end. I mean, nobody...
Of course, then, when the results turn negative.
And especially when your travel from the stadium to wherever you're going or your final destination is a very long one. It sure is a very difficult
If you win, the journey becomes shorter.
If you win, you forget all arguments. Everything becomes...
And that's the beautiful thing about sports.
Yeah.
You don't always have to win. Sometimes you have to go through the pain of trudging from stadium to your house. We used to walk miles. And when you lose, the journey becomes like eternal. You never get home. It's a beautiful thing about it, right? Yeah.
Now, there's this other message. It's from Ayuba again, Aliu. He says, please ask Obama if he's agreed with CAS exempting some of the players even though they played the fixed match. What should the GFA do now to prove that the match was fixed? Okay, well,
that's been proven.
It's been proven.
That's been proven. They don't need to do anything.
There's enough proof that the game, has been.
It's only simple that they say you entered the room. The room has been. Something there has been broached. Something has been taken from the room. You entered the room, but the fact that you entered the room doesn't mean that you stole. The others who have been charged that they stole, but they did not have evidence enough to say that the fact that you entered the room or you were there means you've stolen. So it's been established something has been stolen. So the match was manipulated. CAF has admitted, according to Sports Radar and evidence that they have produced and what we've all watched. But the players who have exempted is specifically because the GFA evidence did not concretely and I say conclusively, put it to end that they were engaged in their individual ways.
Well, my good friend Tammy Muisa, who previously worked with the Communications Directorate of the Ghana FA and is now an aide to His Excellency the Vice President, has sent this message. He says, good afternoon, Nat. Interesting conversation there with Sadiq. Now, the point really is, if the suspicion is that the players in the GPL do bet on games, the big question is, which everybody should be asking is, and that is including the FA, is why would players especially bet? That's number one. Nat, the answer is very simple. These players are not paid well, and some of them are not paid at all for months by their clubs. A simple investigation on the remuneration of players in the league will reveal how most are paid a shocking pittance. Further investigations will reveal how even that pittance is always in arrears for years. When players are hungry and their meager salaries are in arrears, they will do anything to survive, including acts that will put the sanctity of the game into disrepute. The first step of curbing match fixing is involving the main actors of the game, such as the players, in a strict and enforceable regulation on player salary and the payment or the timely payment of same. Tamimu Isa there. Tamimu, thank you very much for this message. And he's raised a very interesting, he's raised a very interesting
Why
point
players
there.
bet?
Yeah. And this thing about salaries, I mean, we're just learning after the Youth and Sports Minister's address to the media during the week that we still owe our two coaches. We owe Coach Siki Akono and we owe Milovan Rajevac as well on his second coming. We will talk about that in a bit. But this phenomenon where clubs continue to owe players, it just seems like it will never go away.
Yes, because clubs are owned by people who form the GFA. And even for the salaries, like Tamimu mentioned, it's chicken feed. This is not something that you should pay players who play in the Premier League or top flights. We have consistently been ranting on this salaries for footballers and the fact that it's not even paid on time. Sometimes 3 months, like I mentioned earlier, the AshGold players had not been paid for 6 months, and so they had been engaged in betting according to the noise around the game and the caution in town before the match. And the FA is aware that they don't pay their players. If I say the FA, they have the clubs, so they know, and they claim that they don't have money. One thing I have always said is that the Ghana Football Association, perhaps our clubs, are it's novel negatively that the executives of football in this country get paid 4,000 cedis every month. And they have set this because they know they work for the FA, and their work is not only sacrificial, they contribute. They have not been able to institute anything with regards to how much players are paid. But they were fast enough to have their salary cap for executive members. You go to clubs and you have sometimes the respect in terms of gap for office persons for the club's administrative staff. You have receptionists receiving more than 80% of the players. Sometimes communication directors, sometimes CEO will have a salary that is 5 or 6 times the highest amount a player takes, or the top earning player. So we do not take the players serious. And we don't think that they are important.
So you look at the other side of the world where, once again, we want to bring the English Premier League as the standard what we're all aspiring to. And you realize that the focus most of the time is on our administrators. They are filling our spaces when it comes to the analysis of the game, the kind of hype that you'd expect a Sky or a BBC to do. And the focus most of the time is on these people who are the administrators and the owners of the clubs rather than the players.
Those who have the resources control what goes on in the system. Because if you want to go to the stadium, nobody knows the annuls president or the PRO. Everybody is talking about Ronaldo. Because of what? Because they have the clout. What makes them have the clout? They are powerful because they are paid. They are powerful because the club has deliberately put them ahead of everyone. They know that they are working as club president, secretary, administrator because of the player. In the absence of Ronaldo, nobody knows about Al-Nassr. That is the reverse we practice here. The executives feel too powerful because they think that they are providing a platform for the player. And it is a routine. You pick a player from Division 2 and you tell them that you have to play and get a contract in Tanzania. I am not the one to pay you well to stay. The vision and ambition should be having a contract or offer from Tanzania or Sudan. So first of all, I'm not going to feed you very well to stay. So that is what is going on. They want the player to go to Tanzania, South Africa. So we are not paying you here. This place is like hell. You have to battle your way out. This is the circumstance we have created. So if the players are not paid, they become vulnerable. And look, it will be very easier, Nat, and I'll be saying this, I've said it, it will be very easier for somebody who sells wache around the stadium to fix a game in Ghana.
Why?
Because she virtually feeds majority of the players for free. So what she tells them, if a wache seller around any of the lower leagues, Division 1 or Division 2, and the players know, they go to it. There was a player who spoke on my show, Kofi, he played for House of Folk.
Okay.
Kofi Koji told me that, yeah, there were times that he got money from a farm milk seller. It was a farm milk seller who was feeding him after games because his salary was just meager. He takes it and for transportation. So he relied on the benevolence of a farm milk seller for 2-3 months. So if this farm milk seller says, Kofi, I have staked a bet that today you don't have to score. If you score my bet, I feed you. So I'm saying that a watch seller around the stadium of a lower league.
Kofi,
they are vulnerable. Even in instances in the UK, look at Ivan Toney, Daniel Sturridge. These are players who have been banned for match fixing and related offenses. But it's out of curiosity. Some of them out of fun and passion or addiction. But our situation, and like I said, these are isolated cases. 1 or 2 players in the 2 years, 3 years, you find them. And these are strict guidelines that they put in place in the UK or elsewhere. If you try, they will catch you. But this place, even if there is a game tomorrow that has been fixed, it will be very difficult for the FA to notice because they are detached from a lot of these issues and the system is not, it's expensive to monitor these things and they don't have it. They contracted Interpol for some of these things. I don't know how far they have gone. So not paying players is aggravating the occurrence of match fixing. You are increasing the chances of players being vulnerable to or being manipulated easily. And it is very easier, like I said, for watches sellers to fix matches in Ghana than syndicates because players are not paid well. And those who are paid, it doesn't even come on time. How many years? The last report I read when the FA had wanted to bring in a salary structure for players, salary cap, was in 1999. That was where the initial, we started the league around 1993. So the initial thoughts of bringing in a salary structure,
having a professional league, was
professional league was in 1993.
Very well.
But when the issue of salary cap was discussed, first introduced and discussed was 99. How many years now? That is 24 years ago. And no authority has been bold enough to say that if we are fixing salary for executive council members of the FA, we must as well set a standard for the players because it is because of the players' reason why we are who we are today. We are not powerful enough than the players. We are not powerful and influential enough. These are the men who compete. These are the men people come to the stadium to watch. The players have been of lesser importance than the administrators, and that is why it will be easier to fix matches. It will be easier for even club officials to tell the players because they pay them.
Yeah.
And they can tell them. The AshGold instance is very clear. It is the club chairman who told the players that they have to fix this match because we need money to pay you. So we are going to stake bet. If you don't want to be paid for another 2 months, that's fine. We are going to stake bet. We don't need a win for anything, so go and play a match of convenience. We will stake 10,000. When we win 100,000, we pay you.
Let's go on to this one. It's coming from Lovelace Nanayao in Magna Terrace Estates, Community 25 in Tema. Okay, so I read that message. It says, "Good afternoon to you, Nathaniel, and your guest. Thank you for the great explanation by your guests. But for how long are we going to do these things as a nation? Now, aren't we tired of talking plenty all the time as citizens of this nation? Can we stop talking and do the right thing and put serious actions in our football industry and the entire nation as a whole? Okay, so Lovelace is a little frustrated, and he's venting it in that message. Let's go to the phone line now and have a conversation with seasoned sports management professional Neil Armstrong Motagbe, who previously worked as a FIFA instructor marketing and former managing director of Accra Hearts of Oak. Neil, thank you very much for your time. Good to have you on the Joy Sports Link.
Thank you, Nat, and good afternoon. Good afternoon to Obama.
Thank you.
Very well. Now, we've been having various, angles to this conversation, and you've also got thoughts to share with us.
Well, just quickly to say that this whole phenomenon of match fixing is a canker that is affecting the game worldwide. And so every effort that can be put into it to ensure that this canker is abated or ultimately weeded out of our football body politic should be lauded. Obviously, in prosecuting any particular case, it's important also that the standards of proof required to convict any person should be adhered to, and that for me would be my initial thought on it. The innocence or the guilt of a person has to be established incontrovertibly, and I reckon that is the angle from which the Court of Arbitration for Sport came with this particular verdict affecting, I reckon, some of the players or the players who went under the FIFPro banner to appeal or to petition CAS. It's my understanding that there still are some players who are not free, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I have the understanding that there are some players who are not out of it. I believe it's their prerogative as to what lines of action that they are taking. But in the wider context, which is part of what I wanted to share, the fact that every effort must be made, no effort must be spared, be you the Football Association, be you CAF, be you FIFPro, be you PFAG, be you a media person interested in the development of the game, no effort must be spared to ensure that this canker is uprooted from our game. And Obama was right. When you go to a football game, what do you expect? You expect intensity. You expect uncertainty. You expect suspense. These are the products, or these are the features of a football game or a football product that attract the fan. But when the fan is going to the stadium and in his understanding or his perception is that a particular game, the result of it is already established, how then do we excite the fan to be at the stadium? And then we turn our back, turn again in the same breath and say that people are not attending football matches. All these go into the mix of whether or not a game will be attractive. And so as there's quite a bit of commentary running about this particular verdict, and indeed the case as it was when the video popped up in the beginning, I would plead that every stakeholder involved in the game, and my plea goes not only to my colleagues who work with me and others in football, but also to the media, to do their utmost to uncover it wherever they find it, and to push hard for the corporates. And sometimes the corporates, and for many a time, the corporates are actually some big fish hiding somewhere, making loads of money. And then a pawn in the game is the one that ends up getting exposed. And if you like it, and obviously I'm not one who condones wrongdoing, but the example I want to share is you look at how the drug trade works. When it is that an international security operation is mounted, you will find that there are pawns. There are those who carry the product across borders. They might be caught, but you find that not too much noise is made about them until they lead you to the big fish, to the capo di tutti. For me, that's really where my energy should be going towards. And usually, in as much as officialdom will do what it is that they ought to do, I have found, and I'll look for some further examples. I mean, we don't have much time, but when it is that you invite me to studio, examples of where the media as the fourth estate, the reflector of the sentiments of the general public, have actually led those campaigns and those crusades to weed out the elements that are making a particular part of our society not good. So I'd laud those who keep shining a light on it, and it's my prayer that that light gets even brighter The bottom line is we need to weed it out of our game and make it more exciting so that the fans can come back to the stadium. I mean, multimedia are championing a cause of how do we get the fans back. Practices like match fixing obviously don't get us back. And I just want to associate myself with the efforts being made. And I reckon that everybody who has the interest of Ghana football and Ghana sports at hand would lend their support to this cause such that we get our game to be as attractive as it could be and exhibit the talents that God has blessed us with in our country to the better good of Ghana football. Those were the few thoughts I wanted to share and to aid the conversation.
Wow, thank you so much, Neil Armstrong Motagwe. We're very grateful for your thoughts. And we'll see you on Monday evening at Labadi Beach Hotel.
Definitely Monday, 6 p.m. I'm there with you at Labadi Beach.
Very well. Looking forward to your thoughts as well. There we go. That was Neil Armstrong Motagwe, a sports management professional who's previously served as a FIFA instructor marketing and was also MD of Accra Hearts of Oak. He also at a certain point served as the National Chapters Committee Chairman of Accra Hearts of Oak. Now, there's a message here. It comes from Nifoji again. He says, please tell Obama that those players on the pitch on the day were all aware. It started in the second half. None of them was innocent. We ain't kids. They had the option to play a competitive first half, and it was their decision to play the way they did. If you're a company worker and not paid for months, stealing the company's money ain't justified. Compensation for playing a match of convenience. Okay. Let's make something clear here, Nifoji. Now, Obama was not saying that these players are justified. In the examples that he gave, I'm sitting here with him. He did not justify the actions of those who are involved in these practices. What he is saying is that there is a cause. He's talking more about the causative factors of the actions of these players. So we need to get it very clear.
Right.
Something leads to something. That's what he was talking about. He wasn't justifying the actions of all of these people. All right. Now time is flying so high. We're just going to be going. We'll go back to the phone line in a bit. Time is not our best friend right now. Greetings to Accra Hearts of Oak board member, Mr. Frank Nelson in Wokolo. We'll do our best to see if we can squeeze him into the conversation before we wrap up. Uncle Frank, could be making a conversation, adding to the conversation as well.
Right.
But look, there's still so much to discuss. But clearly, there's a lot of work for us to do, all of us, to do, in this regard, in getting the game right. And getting the love back.
Right. We all have our stakes to play in this.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people are justifiably infuriated by the decision. Some people do not understand. I myself, I like I said, I am fully behind the GFA to weed out all these perpetrators of match fixing and all that. But this is about law. It's not about emotions or what. We caught people and then we allow them to slip through the nets. This is it. We caught them, but we were not able to establish enough conclusively and with concrete evidence the players who were involved. Cass is saying they may not have been aware, even though they played. You cannot look at their body language and say that there is no definition for that.
So the FA just provide the evidence and
provide the evidence, and the evidence was not, concrete enough. That's what Cass has said, and we have to live by law, not by actions of what emotions and what people
or
think,
assumptions
and mere allegations and hearsay. So next time when there is an opportunity like this, what was my initial remarks on this? That we have let an opportunity slip through our hands to punish corporates who have been caught. They were caught red-handed, but they washed their hands off and said, do you have evidence that my hand was red when you caught me? You don't have, because you didn't take video evidence of that. That's why these players have been exempted. You watch the game and you say, oh, they were all involved. They say, bring your evidence. And you say, I saw them. Some of them were sleeping. You don't have video evidence. You don't have anything. You don't go to court like that. So I think we all will have another opportunity. Maybe now, maybe never. But for match fixing and all this, people not getting to the stadium, you all understand. Sometimes they push the blame to the media. The FA says, I'm glad that on Monday we all be there to say, the FA will say, oh, the club should do this, the club should do that. You are the mother body. The product is for you. I don't know anywhere in this world where members of an association are told by the people with the responsibility to create the enabling environment and framework. Say the members are misacting or their inactions, so they should act. You have to provide the framework. You have the stranglehold of the product is for you. You are the FA. You receive sponsorships. It starts with the FA and ends it with the FA. If they want, Kotoko, Hearts of Oak may be the 2-3 clubs, or Mediama or Dreams FC may be acting right. They travel to play a game with an opponent who is not acting right. You diffuse the entire progress that these individual clubs have made. It is for the FA to put in place the proper framework for the league. If fans are not attending, an individual media house is instituting a research. This is where you start from. What are the problems? What are the solutions? What do we need to do? How many people say they will not watch because of this? So that you can tabulate and see that the number of people who say they are not watching because of the credibility of games is 60%, which is the biggest of our problems. You can even situate it and resolve it. If the FA stays back, look at the energy and intensity they put in for Black Stars games. Because everything comes to the GFA when it's the Black Stars. It's the Black Stars that doesn't even belong to them. It's their responsibility to create a very good league. So you cannot say we are FA. The clubs should. Who are the clubs? You are the head of the clubs. So on Monday, I'm sure we will start by researches like this. And if you finish this and send the report to the FA, we will be looking at how proactive they are in acting upon it. And we all know, if it happens to Black Stars, we go to venues and call on fans to come. We call on ministers to buy tickets. We have other measures or means of getting fans to the stadium when it is Black Stars. When it comes to league, we say it is not for us.
Sadiq Adams, also known as Obama, is the 2019 GJA Sports Journalist of the Year. He's also head of sports at the Angel Media Group. This is how we wrap it up. But remember, we're all converging at the Labadi Beach Hotel on Sunday evening. On Monday evening at 6 p.m. After work, we're all driving there, and we're going to have this conversation of filling the GPL centers, all in the interest of Ghana football. Before we go, we'd like to say a happy birthday to Mr. Francis Cranting, who is a board member of the Multimedia Group. From all of us here at the Multimedia Group, we say happy birthday to you, Mr. Francis Cranting. Also to Mrs. Jackie Ansong, who's a very good friend of the company as well. We had our last half-year review at the Sun Lodge Hotel. Jackie Ansong, happy 50th birthday to you. So Mamiesi Thompson is ready with the Joy headline news at 2. I'll see if I can drag her to Labadi Beach Hotel on Monday, because sometimes